We are live. Say what's up, Dave.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. I'm going to share this to our personal page and we're going to get going. Cool. This is an exciting day. Episode 20 of the Super Terb Podcast on location in a North Raleigh staple. So I can't wait to have you. I mean, I'm glad you're here and we're going to have some fun. And I got a cold beer, even though it's 2 o'clock on a Thursday, 2:15. But that's how we roll. So I'm going to share this and we're going to be ready to rock and roll. Whoops. Wrong button. Tag. Ida Jordan. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it there. For right now, then we can add more. Okay. And let's go. And welcome to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Ida Turbo Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, a.k.a. Super Terb, a.k.a. Coach Terb. And I can't be more excited than today. I'm in episode 20 of the Super Terb Podcast, where I started this last fall to talk real estate, business, sports, and beer in the triangle with the primary focus of interviewing local entrepreneurs, business owners. I've had coaches. I've had you name it. I want them to be able to tell their story, but also like to fill in a little bit of real estate while we do this, and some sports, and of course, a local beer of the week, which I'm excited about this one. Matter of fact, I'm going to crack it right now because I'm thirsty, but I'll get into that later. But Ben Cash is with me. I'm on location at Taylor's Wine Shop, which is in North Raleigh. Started in 1980. I was raised across the street in Pannonia. Moved here in 1986, so I got some fun questions for you. Before we get to the interview here, Ben, I'm going to talk a little bit of real estate, guys. As you know, over the last year with COVID, we've seen the inventory drop in stats per keeping current matters. The United States, believe it or not, is down a total of 42% across the board macro as far as inventory. North Carolina, though, is in the top 5 with a lack of down inventory, 54%. We have 70 people moving here today. Just had a listing, actually, 1008 Foothills in the Sutherland subdivision, Wake Forest, a little plug there. And I'm already getting texts. When's it going live, Terb? People are wanting to buy, and sellers, we need listings. You guys hear us saying that all the time. If you're at all thinking about what your home is worth, I think you don't realize it till we can do a complimentary market analysis for you to just show you how much equity that you currently have. I just said this as an example. So I want to give you guys a little brief synopsis of what's going on in the market. So a friend of mine sells in San Francisco, the Bay Area, and these are the buyers that are coming here. A particular home in the Bay Area had 26 offers on it, Ben, and it sold for $811,000 over asking, not the price, for a whopping $3.71 million. So how does that apply to us here? Sellers are moving here with equity, so they have plenty of cash to spend, whether it's cash purchases, due diligence, where our average sales price is only $405,000. I say only, that's still a very nice home here in the triangle. So people are coming here. So first-time buyers, though, are feeling the effect of this. It's hard for them to compete. They have financing options that are great to use, but when you're in multiple offer situations, it becomes challenging depending on how much money they're going to put down, because if you have someone putting 3%, 3.5% down, or you're even 100% down, it's hard to compete with that 20% down buyer. However, I will say this. What we do is, I always say, who you work with matters. We will help set you up to win, whether you're buying or selling. So reach out to us. We'd love to help you and to make max money. I had someone reach out to me last weekend that I sold to him 6 years ago in Wake Forest. And when I ran comps and I told them the price, there was silence. There was silence. They said, can you come out Monday? So that's my little real estate tip. Masters starts today. Can't wait to get home and see what's going on. I'm going to take a quick break. And on the other side, I'm going to have Ben Cash of Taylor's Wine Shop.
Yeah. Awesome.
And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I have Ben Cash, owner of Taylor's Wine Shop, located in North Raleigh. And Ben, thanks for being here. Just tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and when you started Taylor's.
My name's Ben Cash, and I'm from here in Raleigh. I grew up in Stonehenge behind Margot's on Creedmoor Road. My dad opened this store in May of 1980, and it was called Variety Pickup, and it was in the middle of nowhere.
Now, I remember Variety Pickup. When did it go to Taylor's?
1988.
Everybody, wow, so not very far after that.
Yeah, everybody came in the store, and all they ever said was, hey, let's go to Taylor's, Mr. Taylor's. So he just changed the name to Taylor's.
I love that. So now with Taylor So when your family purchased the store, what made them do that? Did he have a store prior to this? Was he a business owner, or what made him take that jump?
He tried a lot of different things, and his brother-in-law, Uncle Earl, they kind of ran a store together for a little while. And so Dad had the choice to be in Garner on Old Garner Road or be here in North Raleigh. And everybody said nobody would go out there to North Raleigh to run a business because it just wouldn't survive.
Gotcha. So as you mentioned, we mentioned 1980s. I moved here in 86. But tell everybody listening both on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube. We're on all facets here. Tell everybody about North Raleigh, Six Forks Road, and say 1988. So what was going on up here? I see a picture from 65?
65, yeah.
That's amazing.
So in 88, the road had been paved for a little less than 10 years. The dam had been done in probably 77. So there was water. People were starting to go fishing. The Y opened up right up down the street, and for $5 a week, you could go there and play at the Y. And they had 2 counselors and just big open fields, no building or anything. And so
I remember I moved here when I was 7, but I remember there was nothing up this way past Strickland. And of course, Mom and I joke, Mom's off camera here. You can come around and say hi, Mom. Say hello.
Hello.
I remember when we bought here, they were talking about 540 coming in.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing to see the growth going over that time. So how has Taylor's made it this long?
You know, Dad did a lot of food offerings, lunches, and breakfast for all the workers for the construction of the neighborhoods.
Everything was new construction.
Yeah, there was nothing out here, so everything was new. And there was nothing at nighttime after about 6 p.m. It was a ghost town.
Did you always have gas?
Yep, always had gas. It was a Sidco and Phillips 66 and Amoco forever until BP took Amoco over. We were Variety Video in 1988, and we rented VHS movies for about 7 or 8 years until Blockbuster opened.
I remember that. So that's funny. Whereas Mom was talking about this, they had a rule for me. I couldn't cross the street.
Right.
I had other friends that could cross, venture over 2-lane road, look both ways, but that was challenging for us. So I did venture over. I did come clean. I'm 42 now. I figured, she can't really, but I still got a little intimidated.
Yeah.
But she said, so we'd come over, we'd rent movies. Do you remember Whitney Horn? You know the Horns?
Yeah.
I just actually saw him last week in Myrtle Beach. So he's, I remember coming over here and that was a great time. So, and you guys just had a renovation done. So tell everyone about that, because I think it's made a huge difference with parking and then, of course, gas on the sides.
Yeah. There were so many events that were happening in the hurricanes and storms and blizzards that people started stacking up for fuel out front. And so they would get into our neighbor's property and they would block the road. So we moved all the fuel to the side of the property. And so we moved the fuel to the side of the property. We upgraded all of the equipment.
I'm sorry, Ben, keep going.
Go on.
And we just, made sure everything was in compliance and all new equipment and tanks and new parking lots, new bathrooms. Everything was in handicap compliance.
So what do you love about Taylor?
Gosh, everything. I mean, it's the same customers now as when I was a little kid. When I was 3 and 4 years old, my dad would put me on a milk crate running the register, and it was a lot easier. Everything was $1, $2, $3. The register only had a few buttons. It was pretty easy. We did a lot of live bait and minnows and worms, crickets, and the crickets were pretty annoying. You had to cut apples all day to feed them, and you heard the noise all night even after they were gone. So
what's the biggest thing that what's changed the most? I know we just talked about the renovation and what have you, but pretty much almost lots the same though.
Yeah, a lot of it's the same. Every 10 years, Dad would come up with a new idea, like gourmet coffee, local chocolates, local honey. He did the videos for a while, and it always just carried us into a new generation.
It's great. I mean, and I know the last year, obviously it's affected everyone with COVID. I know you guys were still here to serve, the community. You had sanitation stations and, there to make sure everyone's safe. But before COVID, and hopefully very soon, you guys have been a great place for wine tasting, beer events. And it's great to see when it's here, the parking lot's packed.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that. And I'm sure you guys can't wait to get back to it. So what made you guys start the wine tasting or go that way?
Dad just wanted to sell wine. He felt like there was a nice niche in this area. People didn't want to cross over 540 if they didn't have to. So we started selling wine, and it started, with bottom shelf wine, and got more and more and increased in price. And when I got here after my mom passed away, I started doing a lot of craft beer and going to breweries, and craft beer was exploding at the time.
Yeah, and
So
that leads me to my next question, though, because where do you guys get the beers and wines that you sell that separates you maybe from other stores? Because I know I live in Bedford now, but with 540 coming through, it's great to jump off. You guys are so helpful here, and I come in, it's great. Like, hey, Terb, what are you thinking tonight? And then, of course, if I want a stout, a porter, an IPA.
Right.
But where do you guys get all the beer from?
Well, first thing we did was,
or wine.
Yeah, we hired Angela, who's our craft beer manager, and she has a huge
And she's
passion.
awesome.
She has a great passion for craft beer, local beer, and we just tap into the local community and what people are doing and the ingredients that they're using. And then wine, same thing. Kelly and I go to California.
There you go.
Once a year, and we meet these small boutique winemakers that really don't have enough quantities to put it in distribution all over the country. So we talk them into just sending it to North Carolina. So,
do you have a favorite wine?
It's just too many.
What kind of wine's your favorite?
Cabernet would probably be
Cabernet?
my favorite. Yeah.
That's great. So what's it like having a family business?
Well,
You and I are very similar.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, my dad is such a good guy. He's so easy to work with. And, we just want the store to run well. Most of our employees are 10 to 15-year employees. We always try to take care of everybody. The customers are 30-plus year customers. And, we just try to treat people right and pay them well and take care of people.
You have kids. Are you going to pass this along too?
I do not have any kids. So, and I'm the third. So
You got to have someone to pass the torch to. We have to line that up.
Well, we're hiring. So 15 years of hard work. And
there you go. Like it. What's it like being a staple in North Raleigh? Because all you got to do is say Taylor's, and people know your name.
I don't think I've ever thought of it that way. People always come in here, and we try to give them what they need and treat them well.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I put the preview out of that we were going to be doing this, it was cool to see the comments that we've had and texts of friends that lived in Pannonia, Coachman's Trail, Stonebridge, Stone Creek, and they all have memories of Taylor's either as a kid, teenager, growing up, stopping here. And it was funny, all the stories just to me because they thought this was not like that, but it's the truth, which is it's pretty happy to say about that because you obviously have impacted several hundreds, if not thousands of people. Tell us real fast a cool memory or story that someone may not know about Taylor's, maybe something with your dad or mom or just anything. What's something that's crazy and funny?
There was a Christmas day, I think I was 7, and a guy cut a hole in the roof and tried to break in because it was the only day of the year we were closed. And so he got stuck as he was coming through the ceiling. And
when was this again?
Let's see. I was 7, so it would have been 83, 84.
So that was before we got here. So someone tried to come through the ceiling.
He cut a hole in the roof and came in through the ceiling, and he got stuck in the rafters. And every 30 minutes or so, his legs would wiggle, and it would set the motion detector off. The sheriff would come by, and he wouldn't see anything because he's looking in the kind of the floor perimeter, and none of the glasses busted. And on the third time out here, he finally saw the guy's legs through the ceiling, and they had to get like a cherry picker and lift him up.
That's one way to get caught.
Yeah.
So what are the plans for Taylor's? Where do you guys see yourself in 5 years?
Gosh, I hope we're just doing what we're doing.
Keep doing it, right?
Yeah. Everything's all
Have you ever
new
thought of expansion or
Sure.
other locations? Because this is the only Taylor's spot,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, I have had a couple perfect ones picked out, but you got to have a really good partner. This business takes a lot of work, and you have to be here a lot.
Tell people about that.
So,
Tell people like an average day for you,
they change every day.
or a week. I mean, because because that leads me into the next questions that I have and why I love interviewing local business owners, entrepreneurs, because it takes it takes courage to step out and run your own business. And there's a lot of challenges there. And the biggest thing is, so if someone's listening to this and says, I want to start something similar, maybe a craft beer store, wine store, just like Taylor's, what would be a piece of advice you'd give to them?
You just have to have a lot of passion, and there's going to be times where you don't make a lot of money. So you have to get really good employees that support you and back them up. So,
That's
the
important.
store here opens at 6 in the morning. We do breakfast, so somebody has to be here at 5:30. And then we close at 9, so somebody's here till 9:30. So for 30 years, my dad and mom did everything all day and just had a few part-time employees, and they pretty much worked themselves to death. So when I got here, I made sure Corey's been our wine manager for 10 plus years. And Bill's our breakfast manager. He's been here almost 15 years. Angela's our craft beer manager. So I've tried to surround the store with all these people that had a passion
and good work. Good people are hard to find.
Oh, they're very hard to find.
And I'm sure when you get them.
Years ago when Whole Foods was bought out by Amazon, and Amazon was coming into the market and paying everybody $15 an hour, people came in the store and they're like, oh, what are you guys going to do now? And I'm like, well, we've been paying that for about 5 years already.
Right.
So you really have to pay people well because they need a living wage. They have to be able to survive. You know, for years, they had people that were coming in from Clayton and Garner and Oxford to be able to work in the North Raleigh area. And because that's the only places they could afford to live in. So fortunately, all of our employees live pretty close by.
Fantastic. I have a question that I like to ask everybody that's on my podcast.
Okay.
And I get great answers for each time I ask this. I keep saying this, but I'll probably do. Maybe on the 100th episode, I'll make a book with all the questions, the answers to this. So tell everyone listening the best advice you've ever received and by who.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I always catch you off guard.
Yeah. Well, my dad just said 30 minutes ago on the phone, we had a guy that came in. We only got 12 bottles of this specific wine. And so I let the customer know, and he said, I'll take them all. Do you care? Will other people be upset? And I said, no, you can have every one of them. And my dad says that one in the hand's worth two in the bush. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So I like that. I get answers to that question, all different answers, and it's a lot of fun. So tell everyone before we get off here, we still have the local beer of the week segment. So and I don't know if you have your beer or not, but I'll have my beer to show up. Tell everyone here how to get a hold of you guys. Obviously, I'm going to tag you on Facebook.
TaylorsWineShop.com and same phone number since 1980, 919-847-3069.
Do you ever have any specials? Do you have specials coming up, or
all the time?
What's a good couple good specials you want to put out there?
We just finished Cabernet month. We're on Austrian wine month, and Angela's putting a seltzer month together. Right. There's 40 new seltzers that have hit the market. Everything from agave to everything you can think of.
All right, man. Well, thanks, Ben, for coming on. I've been wanting, I give you guys plugs every week on the podcast. So you guys have been very special to us. So I'm so glad I could do this on my 20th episode. And so I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back and finish up the show with my local beer of the week.
All right, cool.
All right. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. I am your host again, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Ida Turbot Group, Coldwell Banker, HPW with Ben Cash, owner of Taylor's Wine Shop in North Raleigh. And I'm here on my last segment, my local beer of the week, which actually I'm partaking in right now. I know it's mid-afternoon, but you know what? I need, it's good stuff. So this is actually out of one of my favorite breweries in Raleigh, which is Gizmo Brew Works. What can you tell people about Gizmo?
Gizmo's been around for a while, and even before it was Gizmo, one of the first craft beer breweries that I got into was called Roth Brewery, and it was two guys that graduated from state, and they were kind of in the early days of craft beer in Raleigh, and they worked so hard, and they did a great job, and they sold that brewery to a guy which became Gizmo, and it's a little tiny place.
See what you learn on the Super Terb Podcast.
Yeah. It's a little tiny place off of Glenwood Avenue, not far from the entrance to Umstead Park. And it's a little dirt road on the backside there, and
very cool,
little tiny building.
Well, what I'm drinking today, which you guys were thankfully you let me try this. Actually, I had one last week too. That's why I wanted it again. Is Prototype, which is a raspberry Whittier. So it's almost like a white or an ale, What's nice about it, especially as we're getting into the warmer months, it doesn't pack too big of a punch. Whatever you want to do, it's 5.5% in alcohol. It's easy to sip. If you want to go on and look at what Gizmo offers, my wife's favorite one is the honey one, Honey Gizmo. That's her favorite. Beekeeper. Go to gizmobrewworks.com. As always, tell everyone Terb sent you. If you guys are listening on this podcast, this show, and you have your business you like to tell people more about, reach out to me. My email's on here, michael@idaturbot.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify. Follow my Facebook page at Michael Turbot, and of course my Facebook page, business page, Michael Turbot. Anything Michael Turbot, you're going to find me. And as always, guys, it's just a blast being able to come here and tell you guys different story, give you a little real estate advice, real estate tips. And if there's anything we can do to help you accomplish your real estate goals, that's what we're here for. Again, it's Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Ida Turbot Group, Coldwell Banker, HPW. And as always, remember, who you work with matters, and we will see you soon.
See you.